Welcome to VGK Today, a weekly podcast providing you a special look at the 2024-25 Vegas Golden Knights. I'm Justin Russo with the Golden Knights on Wednesday, October 23rd, with the VGK fresh off a commanding 6-1 victory over the LA Kings on Tuesday night to kick off their second homestand of the season. The Knights were led up front by Tomas Hertl, who exploded for his fourth career 4-point game, with 3 of them in the first period to help the Knights claim the early lead.
Veers to the outside right. Hertl's got 3 points today. First multi-point game of the night. Hanifin put it in front. Dorofiev's try is cut down, gets it back. Petrangelo shoots, save, rebound, score! Tomas Hertl! A 4-point game! 5-1 Golden Knights.
Once Vegas took that lead, Ilya Samsonov kept the Kings at bay, stopping 32 of 33 shots to secure the victory.
The Knights have returned home to the fortress. And boy, that home cooking sure tastes good. Just like Thanksgiving turkey. It's all over. Golden Knights 6, Kings 1. Largest win of the season for the Knights. 4 points for Tomas Hertl. 2 goals, 2 assists to make a winner out of Ilya Samsonov, who was sensational.
While some new faces led Vegas on the ice, it was an old friend who grabbed the attention off it. Former VGK ringside reporter Stormy Buonantony assumed the role again for Tuesday night's broadcast on ESPN and received a warm welcome back to the Fortress. After the break, Dan Duva catches up with Stormy to chat about her return and her many endeavors since moving on from her VGK role. VGK fans join the Golden Knights to celebrate Nevada Day on Friday at 3 p.m. and wear white to T-Mobile Arena as we frost the Fortress. The players will be in white as well, and specially designed white Nevada Day jerseys will be signed by players and available for auction. That's Friday, October 25th, as the VGK take on the Ottawa Senators. The Vegas Golden Knights Game Changer program, presented by America First Credit Union, recognizes and rewards teachers in Clark County that are going above and beyond in their classrooms. Outstanding teachers nominated will have the chance to receive a $1,000 grant to be used toward improving their classroom. Nominate a teacher today at vegasgoldenknights.com.
It was a late start and a late finish for the Golden Knights, but a 6-1 victory against the Los Angeles Kings. And there was a familiar face on the scoreboard and one of the loudest ovations of the night. And you know it, that's really saying something when Tomas Hertl gets 4 points in a game. But one of the loudest ovations of the night was for Stormy Buonantony. Back at the Fortress, covering the game for ESPN, and she is back on our broadcast. Hi, Stormy.
Hi, that was such a nice welcome back. I'm just glad that nobody booed, truly, when they put me on the Jumbotron. That was so unexpected and so kind, and I really, really appreciate it. It was an amazing night to be back here in a place that obviously is home to me.
Well, it forever will be, and it's hard to think about what we have done now. This is this 8th year for the Knights, and you're 2 seasons with the Golden Knights, but I'm sure people are not thinking, oh, whatever happened to Stormy? No, because you're everywhere and doing stuff. You seem to be even busier now than you were when you worked with the Golden Knights. But for the folks who might not have seen or heard all of the different places you're working now, can you tell us where you're at?
Sure, yes, I appreciate that. I have a bit of a chaotic schedule right now, especially during football season. I do college football for ESPN every Saturday. I host a sports betting show here at Circa Resort and Casino that is Sunday through Thursday, and then I travel on Friday to go to my games on Saturday. So that's usually the football schedule. And we decided we're going to throw in some hockey this year, which is an amazing development. I'm so excited to be a small part of ESPN's hockey crew. And again, to be back here in Vegas, because as you know, since you've known me from the beginning, I learned the sport of hockey through the lens of this team. And so for my second NHL game on ESPN ever, to be in this building was pretty unbelievable.
Yeah. How many Golden Knights games have you attended or even covered now since you moved on from the Golden Knights?
More than you would expect, probably. I love our game day environment. I understand that I'm biased, but I think that it's the best in the NHL by far, what we do. And I love seeing all the familiar faces. So I've been to a handful, and fortunately, I was also at Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final, and that was really, really cool, especially because, like, being in the stands and just enjoying what was a blowout game at Game 5. But to see the people that I care so much about on the ice lifting up the cup, whether it's Chris Davidson Adams and the equipment staff or our broadcast crew, like the guys down there being a part of it and being in it was one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah. I went back, Stormy, and I listened to an interview that you and I did before you were ever hired by the Golden Knights. This was, I think, part of the hiring process where you and I chatted, and it was sort of like a get to know Stormy. And then we ended up publishing the interview, and I think you were surprised, if my memory serves. And you know what? I think that we all so much appreciated, speaking for the broadcast crew, was your familiarity with Las Vegas. Because for Dave and Shane and Gary and me, we had come from other places, maybe had visited. We were talking about the Las Vegas Wranglers on the radio broadcast, Gary and I, during the Knights-Kings game. But you had this Vegas-born mentality because you grew up here, and you brought that to our broadcast, which I think was so important to not only for our listeners, but also for us. Could you have imagined all of this now? I mean, I just think back to that interview and everything that you've done, but also just to kind of see this all come together. What do you think?
I feel like I'm kind of in the twilight zone sometimes. It really has been unbelievable. And I totally remember doing that interview with you. And I was so nervous because that was the day that I was interviewing to become the Golden Knights ringside reporter. And I'm doing the rounds in the building, just going into intimidating room after intimidating room. And you were so welcoming and amazing talking to me and giving me an opportunity to share my story a little bit. But yes, I love Las Vegas. I am Las Vegas. I was born and raised here. And when we got a professional franchise, I, like so many other people here in this community, immediately became connected to it. And then obviously there are a lot of other layers that reconnect you to the team. And then getting the opportunity to work here and be a part of this and see all of the work that goes into it firsthand. And then to win a cup so early in existence, just it's absolutely ridiculous what this team has become and what it's done for sports in Las Vegas.
Yeah. You, of course, were part of the Golden Knights for a couple seasons. You remain part of this city, and you also travel around the country. But VSiN is just such a neat thing. We love Brent Musburger and everything that's been created there, and it's great to hear him when he's on. I'm wondering, Stormy, when you meet people elsewhere, they ask you about working in Las Vegas, whether it's with the Golden Knights or VSiN. What do you tell them? What some people don't quite get what has happened here.
They don't. And for one thing about Vegas, because like we said, I travel every single weekend this time of year, the fact that I'm coming back from a college football game and I'm trying to relax and chill and everybody else is coming for a bachelor party when I'm trying to like take a nap or whatever, that's very much so my life. Like, guys, I just need to sleep. But I always tell them that Vegas has so much more to offer than the Strip. And it's true. It's a beautiful place. There are so many activities to do, and now it has truly become a sports capital of the country. It's ridiculous how much things have developed here, and it all started because Bill Foley brought this incredible organization to this city, and there's just going to be more. We're just going to continue to expand and bring more and more sports here. But I have personally loved so much the rest of the country and the rest of the world has really got to see Las Vegas through a different lens because of it. Yeah.
And if you had said to a sports fan, even, 10 years ago, that sports betting was going to be what it is and the taboo would be removed and that Vegas would get all of these teams, it would have been, people would have laughed you out of the room.
Every job that I have ever had as a reporter is like, stay away from any type of betting. You can't do it. Even my first job out of college, I was working for the Mountain West Conference, and I wasn't even allowed to fill out an NCAA tournament bracket. Even if I wasn't submitting it or playing it for money, it didn't matter. You're just not allowed to do it because it has that vibe about it. And as somebody who grew up in Las Vegas, a big part of how I learned sports and came up in being raised here was through seeing sports betting. My uncle is an odds maker, for goodness sake. So that's very much been a part of my life. And yeah, to see the way that it has not only been legalized, but accepted and promoted the way that it has been is mind-boggling. And then pair that in with, again, sports in Las Vegas, that we're going to have that we have had like a Super Bowl here, and that we're going to host an FCS College Football Playoff National Championship in 2027. And there's just more and more. I can't wait to see where Las Vegas goes as a sports city.
Yeah. Maybe baseball, maybe the NBA, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, the A's.
I'm not sure I'm convinced about this baseball thing.
That's why I said maybe. The Tropicana's gone, but when we see the stadium come up, I guess we'll have to see what happens there. Because, and you remember this as a Golden Knights employee for a couple years, we as employees of the team cannot bet on hockey. Right. So I of course keep my distance. What are some of the things? Some of the if someone's wants to place a wager on a game, what are some of the popular things that you would point somebody toward?
Sure. So obviously you can bet on who's going to win the game and who's going to lose the game. It's called the money line for one. So that's a little bit of a just different vernacular that we have in betting. You can also bet the puck line, which is essentially like a spread that you would have in football when you say a team's a 7.5 point favorite. Well, in hockey, you have a puck line that you're betting a team to win by a goal and a half, so by 2 goals or more. Or there's even alternate puck lines where you can change it up and put that number at whatever you want it to be. If you think it's going to be a blowout game, you can bet the total goals that are going to be scored in a game. You can bet the total goals that are going to be scored in an entire day. So I really wonder what it was for the Frozen Frenzy, because that's got to be a pretty high total. But lots of different ways. And you can, of course, bet goal scorers. Is somebody going to have 1 or more assists in a game? That legitimately, if you can think it, you can bet it nowadays with the way that things are going. And if you can't, ask me, because I know a lot of odds makers that might put it up for you. So just let me know.
And this is a perfect time to ask for your social media handles, because I'm not a TikTok person, but I know you've got the TikTok along with your Twitter.
The fact that you said the TikTok is also a little bit of a tell there.
I was in college when the Facebook was invented, when it was actually thefacebook.com. You had to type the. Right, but I guess that shows that was 20 years ago, and you could do the math.
Well played, sir. But yes, you can follow me on Instagram at Stormy, but with 3 S's. Don't ask me why. I was like 15 when I made that handle, and it was the only thing I could think of at the time. Or on X at Storm Buonantony. And the only reason it's not Stormy Buonantony is because I reached my character limit. That's also my name on the TikTok. There we go.
Can we talk some hockey?
I would love to.
You got to see this team in person today, and there are more changes from last year to this year than probably any offseason through the team history. You get to see this group up close and personal today and talk to some of the guys the last few days. What are your impressions?
Well, I told you before we started recording here, I think I have a new favorite player all of a sudden. Tomas Hertl. How fun and charismatic is this guy? We did a bench interview after the first period when he scored a goal and had an assist on the power play, and he was just like living color. I feel like he was such a bright light and gave such great answers, and especially thinking that the day prior he was just talking about how he needed to find his confidence and he wasn't playing the game that he wanted to. It goes out and has a 4-point game and is unbelievable and is as likable as a character as you can imagine. And you said the turnover from this year. I've only been gone for 3 seasons, Dan, and I feel like I don't know anybody anymore how much change there has been, yet some of the staples remain so important. And you see what Mark Stone is as a captain and as a person, and the way with a guy like Jonathan Marchessault, who's no longer here anymore, how Jack Eichel continues to raise and elevate his game as a leader and a voice in the room. It's been very, very cool to see, and that the success on home ice continues to follow here early.
Yeah, holy cow. After a 3-0 start to begin the season on the road, only 1 point out of 6, come back and put a wallop on the Kings, who, by the way, haven't played a home game yet. They're having renovations at Crypto and so on. And they'll meet again in Los Angeles next week.
And correction, it was a goal and 2 assists, for Tomas in the first period. Want to make sure I got that right for the people.
Right. Facts are stubborn things. Stormy always on top of it. Stormy was always the one correcting us, by the way.
Oh, please.
That Stormy was always on top of her game. Even when Dave and Shane were slacking, we could always count on Stormy. There's plenty of discussion going into every year about who's the favorite to win the cup. And, remember the 500-1 before the Knights' first year, and they get all the way to the final. So the Knights win the Cup, and then the next year they're not really given the sort of respect. This year, you hear people talk, and the Knights don't come up in the conversation. The Oilers get to the final. I wonder how you might handicap how this NHL season is unfolding. And, the Knights certainly have some changes, but they still seem to be a pretty darn good team. Panthers win last year. Oilers almost come from behind for a Game 7 win. How do you see it?
Well, if the Golden Knights continue to play like they did tonight, I think they'll have a lot of success this season. It is interesting in the grand scheme of things how people perceive this team right now. And I think a big part of that is because of the turnover. But we just talked about all of the leadership that they have. There's clearly a lot of talent, even with the young players. William Karlsson is going to be back here very soon. And we heard Bruce Cassidy earlier this week talking about how he's the type of player that can not only put out a lot of fires and be extremely productive on all areas of the ice, but the way he makes the people around him better on the ice as well. And so I think that it's easy to count this team out, but they have been counted out before. And look at how that turned out for this team and this organization. So keep doubting the Golden Knights, I say.
Yeah, no, Mark Stone will make sure that you do. What's the best part about what you do?
I think that it is being able to be the conduit to some of the most incredible stories that there are. And I had someone the other day that asked me what was my favorite story that I've had the opportunity to tell. And I said, I genuinely don't know how to answer that question, because I think every single week that I do this, I learn something new and I learn something magical, and I meet a new player who has overcome something incredible, or an injury or a life circumstance. And the fact that I have the great fortune to get to know that person for a moment and then share it with the country is the brightest part of what I do by far, bar none.
See, I couldn't have said it any better than that. Covered the game today. Might we have more, Stormy, in hockey arenas?
I hope so. I really do. I have to get through college football season first. I've had the good fortune of doing a couple of games here early because ESPN has had the triple headers. And so let's keep bolstering ESPN's coverage. Let's get more triple headers so I can get involved. But certainly the hope is that once I'm through with my football schedule, that I'll get to be integrated more in the league.
Speaking of which, what does the upcoming football schedule look like for you?
I am at number 11. Number 11 BYU is going to UCF. So I'm glad I got a home game here on a Tuesday, because I will be flying to Orlando in a couple days and doing the East Coast trip. But another thing that I don't think people really realize about what I do as a college football reporter is we find out our assignments on a weekly basis. So I'll have people that come up to me all the time and are like, are you going to get any Utah games? Are you going to be at Florida? I'm like, I have no idea. I do my game Saturday. I wake up Sunday. I check my email and I find out where I'm going that week. And that's just how it works.
Yeah, because people right now are that when's Stormy going to do a UNLV game? I'm wondering when is Stormy going to do a Syracuse game? And as soon as you get either one of those, you're going to let us know.
Absolutely, 100%. You will be my first text.
By the way, what a game that was between UNLV and Syracuse here at Allegiant. I mean, I couldn't have lost, right? Because one of those teams was going to win, but I did want Syracuse to pull it out. What a game.
You're gloating a little bit here.
Yes, I am.
So meanwhile, I was on the road because that was a Friday game. I'm on the road watching from my hotel room on the East Coast on the phone with my dad. I'm like, I really need to go to sleep, but I can't. And they lose. And I'm just devastated and heartbroken. Meanwhile, you're smiling on the couch.
It was a great game. It was a lot of fun. It's so great to see you. We miss you around here. I know the people listening to us right now miss you, but they are also so happy for all the other things that have happened for you and the work that you continue to do. But it's just wonderful to have you back here. And the ovation from the T-Mobile Arena crowd, I think, is just an echo of what all the Golden Knights fans and broadcasters feel about you. So thank you so much for some time, and welcome back. Please come back again soon.
Thank you so much. I hope to be back soon, and I have had so many incredible hugs today that you could not wipe the smile off my face all day. This has been amazing.
It was wonderful to have Stormy back in the mix at T-Mobile Arena. A big thank you to her for taking the time to chat with Dan after the game, and we surely hope to see her more at the Fortress this season covering the VGK, hopefully after that college football schedule lightens up just a bit at the turn of the new year. We'll step aside, and when we come back, we'll recap a busy Frozen Frenzy Tuesday in the NHL and take stock of the NHL standings through the first couple of weeks of the season. Golden Knights fans, don't miss one of the most spectacular nights of the season at the annual VGK Foundation Gala, set for Sunday, November 3rd at the fabulous Fontainebleau. Tickets are available now, and all proceeds benefit deserving nonprofits in the Las Vegas Valley. Join the entire team at this Golden Night. Also want to let you know, Golden Knights fans, that the VGK have launched a new app where you can access team news, game tickets, and your Nighttime Plus subscription all in one place. Visit the App Store or Google Play and download the new Vegas Golden Knights app today. As mentioned, it was a busy Tuesday in the NHL, a part of the Frozen Frenzy, kind of mimicking the NFL Red Zone type action where you have a bunch of teams playing on one day, and in this case in the NHL, all 32 of them playing in one day, as the ESPN crew tried to follow all the action around all the games. Of course, the Golden Knights were the last of the games to drop the puck, an 8 o'clock puck drop in Vegas last night for their 6-1 victory over the Los Angeles Kings. But let's take a look at some of the other scores that were notable from Tuesday's action. First off, let's start with Tampa Bay, an 8-5 victory over the New Jersey Devils. Bunch of goals in that game, and for the Devils, who are off to a hot start, 5-3-1, 11 points, they suffer that third regulation loss. Another team hitting the skids just a bit, the Dallas Stars. They were in Buffalo, and they suffered a 4-2 loss to Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and the Buffalo Sabres, a 4-2 win on home ice for Buffalo, and the Stars, after starting 5-0, have now lost their last 2 games. New York Rangers picked up a massive 7-2 victory over the Montreal Canadiens, and speaking of teams with a hot start, Rangers are right there among them. 5-0-1 this season. They've got a point in every one of their 6 games so far, and they continued it as Igor Shesterkin gave up just 2 goals to the Canadiens on Tuesday night. Detroit and New York, the Islanders, hosting the Red Wings, and this was an interesting game. The Detroit Red Wings scored on their first shot of the game, and that was all they needed. They picked up a 1-0 victory on Long Island, and the reason this game was so interesting was that the Red Wings were outshot 29-11 in the game. That is the fewest shots in a win for a team since 1959. Efficiency for the Detroit Red Wings there, picking up a 1-0 win over the Islanders. The hottest team in hockey, well, that's the Winnipeg Jets. And they continued their hot streak to start the year with a 3-2 win over the St. Louis Blues. Winnipeg has roared out to a 6-0 start, 12 points to give them the Central Division lead through a couple of weeks of the season. And they just cannot stop scoring goals. Had a big 6-goal outburst against Pittsburgh the other day, and now pick up a win over St. Louis as well. Some Pacific Division action. You had the Canucks taking down the Blackhawks 6-3. Colorado taking down the Seattle Kraken 3-2. Edmonton Oilers and Carolina Hurricanes go to overtime. Carolina picks up the victory there. And as for the next couple of opponents for the Golden Knights on this homestand, well, you look to the Ottawa Senators, who will be in town on Friday. They're coming off a 4-0 win over the Utah Hockey Club. Anton Forsberg picking up the shutout there. And the San Jose Sharks, who fell yesterday 3-1 to the Anaheim Ducks, leaving the Sharks as the final team without a victory so far this season. They do have a couple of points, a couple of OT losses, but the Sharks 0-5-2, had some high hopes with some of their young players, but taking a bit of time to gel, and that's what you'd expect for this Sharks team that is in the midst of a rebuild and trying to work their way back up to prominence. No points for them, and looking to, at the very least, get something going here toward the next couple of weeks of this season as we get deeper into the fall and into the winter. Taking a peek at the NHL standings, though, through 2 weeks of the season, the Florida Panthers, defending Stanley Cup champions, with 9 points out there with the Atlantic lead, and a few teams trailing not far behind them. Of course, we're not that far into the season. Everyone's close to everyone at this point, but you have the Lightning, the Senators, and the Leafs, all with 8 points in the next 3 spots in the Atlantic. In the Metropolitan, mentioned the Rangers and Devils off to hot starts. They're each at 11 points. Capitals sitting at 8 points through just 5 games, a 4-1 record for Washington, while Pittsburgh sits in 4th, just 3-4-1, but they're 8 games into the season with 7 points so far. In the Central, Winnipeg Jets, 12 points. They've got the lead. Wild and Stars with 10 apiece right behind them. And Utah Hockey Club, they've simmered down a little bit, but still a hot start for them in their new digs in Salt Lake City. 4-2-1 for Utah to start this season. And of course, that leaves us with the Pacific Division, the one that we most care about here in Las Vegas. It's the Calgary Flames with 11 points leading the way, 5-0-1. They picked up a shootout victory over the Pittsburgh Penguins last night. Vegas sitting in second with 9 points through 7 games. Vancouver and LA in third and fourth. and the Seattle Kraken in 5th as well. All three of those teams with 8 points. Anaheim at 7. Edmonton, another slow start like they had last year with just 5. And the aforementioned San Jose Sharks with just 2 points. So again, early going in the season. No team is going to be really far ahead of any other at this point in the year. But a fun look at the standings there and a fun recap of the Frozen Frenzy that provided us a lot of action on Tuesday night. And for Wednesday, well, only one game on the schedule. They go from 16 games down to just 1 on Wednesday, and that one game will come to us from Washington, where the Philadelphia Flyers meet with the Washington Capitals. That's a 4:30 Pacific puck drop, nationally televised on TNT. So an easier evening to digest for hockey fans in terms of the sheer amount of games that are on the schedule, but just one to worry about here tonight in the NHL. Well, that'll just about wrap things up for VGK today. Another big thank you to Stormy Buonantony for taking time after last night's game to come up to the radio booth and chat with Dan Duva. Thanks as always for listening. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform, as we'll be back each week throughout the 2024-25 regular season with new episodes. And stay tuned next week as Dave Gosher joins the program. Justin Russo signing off for VGK Today.